I don't know that we need to have a full conversation every time. Like, we ain't friends no more because we've outgrown each other. We don't like the same things. Sometimes it just happens naturally.
I've experienced that as well. And even on the flip side of like having somebody that I thought was my best friend and they were like,
Yikes. Not you.
Not you, sorry.
And see, I'm good with I haven't seen you in a year and it feels like I saw you yesterday and I'll see you again in a year.
I don't know. Would we schedule our time to go out to eat?
No.
I don't think so.
This is Sistas Declassified, the podcast where
Taylor
and Taryn,
your virtual sisters, share experiences, insights, and of course the juicy secrets that never leave the sister circle.
So shh, listen up. The Declassified convos are starting now.
Welcome back to Sistas Declassified. We're real life sisters who decided to start a podcast instead of holding on to dead friendships.
But before we get started, don't forget to subscribe for your weekly dose of declassified moments.
It's always so awkward. All right,
Why?
So let's get into our declassified moment for today. We're doing a little declassified. I don't know. It's kind of gospel, but it might be a little bit of gossip later.
We might not. We're gonna try not to name no names, so it'll be mostly gospel. Amen. Amen.
Amen. But basically, not every friendship ends with a bang. Sometimes it just fades.
Amen. Right? Because I don't know that we need to have a full conversation every time. Like, we ain't friends no more because we've outgrown each other. We don't like the same things. Sometimes it just happens naturally.
It does, but also, like, I am kind of indifferent about that idea.
What do you mean?
Because I do think most friendships end up fading instead of having a conversation.
Right. And that's natural.
And it's natural, but I'm like, is there space for the conversation?
There can be. I think.
How do you decide who's worthy of a conversation and who just becomes an acquaintance that you might say hi to when you run into each other?
That's fair. I think that requires a little bit of like a friendship audit, figuring out where people sit in your lives or where they have recently sat, and then determining whether or not, I don't want to say they're worth that conversation or whether or not it is worth having a conversation. Because there are some people who are like, I guess, in your front row, if you will, your real inner circle, right? Mm-hmm. And then, like, if we're using like the theater as a metaphor,
yeah,
like there's the front row, the people who are like in it, they're your diehard fans, your people. Then there's the people in the balcony, they want to be there, but they don't necessarily pay top dollar to see you. Then there's the people who are backstage who might have known you since you was 12. Y'all go way back. You got some deep-seated memories. We love you. We don't talk all the time. It's a little bit of distance, but it's all love.
Right.
And then there's just the people who's outside who can't get in no more.
At all. They've lost access.
And so I think when it comes to who gets the conversation, who doesn't, it kind of first depends on the level of friendship you had.
I guess so. And I think some of the challenge is like we don't always agree on what level.
Amen.
So like somebody might feel like they were in your inner circle or whatever, your front row, whatever you want to call it, or your backstage even.
That's true.
But because of how long y'all been fading, they've moved to different parts.
Yeah, I have a friend like that, and it hurt my feelings to hear how she described our friendship. She was telling me about how she was describing our friendship to someone else, and like it was like her having a realization about our friendship, and I guess sharing it with me after she shared it with another friend. But she was basically like, I consider Taryn like my best friend, and I know I'm not Taryn's best friend. And I was like, knife to the heart. That hurts me to say, because like, I guess if we're using the metaphor, like I love you, you'd be somewhere between a balcony and a backstage friend. Just because distance, we don't talk all the time. We've definitely gone different directions in our life path. But like, if you called me and you needed me to be there, I'm gonna be there, right? Like, but it was surprising to me to hear her say that she still considers me like her best friend, one of her best friends, and like we don't really talk.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think I've experienced that as well. And even on the flip side of like having somebody that I thought was my best friend and they were like,
yikes, not
you, sorry. And it's different. It's definitely interesting to navigate. But I will say, being the opposite of your friend, we were able to talk about that. And then it was like, actually, I just hadn't thought about it. And now I've thought about it, and I guess you're right. But that takes some time and a conversation, right? So I feel like the same thing can be true for when like something is fading. That doesn't always mean that it has to be over. Right. It just might mean that there's some sort of a conversation that needs to be had.
Right.
Before it just fades into nothingness.
Right. And in my case, that was us having the conversation. Because then I was like, I feel bad that you feel that way. And I want you to know that I love you. You can call me for anything. And like, also it's a two-way street. We hung out most recently because I called you to hang out. Mm-hmm. You consider me one of your best friends, but you don't ever call me to hang out. Mm-hmm. Right. So, don't ever feel like you're bothering me by trying to talk to me, because you're not, because I love you. So to your point, having that conversation was helpful. Do we still talk? Have we seen each other more? Not really, to be honest. But again, it's all love. Like if she called me right now while I was in this podcast, I would have to call her back because we were recording. But I'd be like, girl, what's up? It's been a minute.
See, and I don't know if I brought this up on the podcast. I know I've told you this in real life, but I'd be curious to see if people have thoughts about this. So I had a person who I would say I consider to be in my inner circle, right? But also we have adult lives now. And so we've kind of separated. And they got married. And so I was called right away when they got proposed to. Oh my God, I got proposed to. Here's the video. So amazing. Da 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 da. We've checked in a couple times. What's the wedding plans like? How is it gonna? How are you doing with the planning? Blah blah blah. Never was told I wasn't invited to this function.
Oh.
And I found out that like the wedding plans were happening because the bridal shower happened. And I was like, oh, okay. Maybe it's just family. Cool. I'm not going to be bothered by it. But like, obviously, if a bridal shower is happening, that means you obviously are making your wedding plans. Like your wedding date's picked. Everything's in motion.
Right.
Then like maybe a month and a half goes by. I like the pictures or whatever. But I'm like, I make a mental note, right? And part of my friendship audit. Okay. And then a month and a half goes by and our mutual friend, well, not really my friend, but our mutual associate from college posts the wedding.
This is the first time I'm hearing this, I think.
Maybe. But I was like, this can't be her wedding.
Must be somebody else's wedding.
Must be. And nope. Then another post comes up and happy bride and groom. Like, this is their wedding. And I'm like, cool. Thought I was in the inner circle backstage here.
Right.
I thought we were cool. And so then I just say congratulations, because then she starts posting and I'm like,
wow,
I'm good off of this. That was what I decided for myself, because I'm like, okay, we talk, but it's not like something that's consistent. It's not going to make or break my life if we continue to be cool. But now I know where I stand.
Right.
No longer am I in the inner circle nor the backstage. Right. But I'm clearly, what was your analogy?
Out the door.
Out
the door. Can't get in.
I won't even say out the door, because.
Okay, backstage, girl. You just.
Well, wait. So no, I messed up your analogy. So the balcony is supportive but distant. So I guess that's where I actually am.
Is on the balcony.
Yeah, supportive but distant, because how do you tell me about all of this stuff and then not include me in it, and then include somebody else? And it kind of bothered me. I won't even get into that, but that bothered me for a couple reasons. And then the person doesn't talk to me. They say thank you right after the congratulations. A month goes by and they call me. They're like, oh my God, guess who I just ran into? Da, 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 da. Like telling me all about this. I'm so excited. And I just couldn't even
fake it.
Right. Because honestly, the reason I was saying I wasn't out the door, or I didn't feel that way, is because we were still communicating to an extent.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, I'm not out the door, but there's something going on here. And basically I was told, I thought that person would care more than you, whether you weren't invited and we didn't have enough money to invite all of you.
No.
And I'm like, so maybe I would have understood if you told me that.
Which is but to find out conversation to have.
It is.
I can say that.
But then I had to, that was a part of me auditing my friendships and the type of people I want to have around me, because I want you to be able to tell me that. And if you think I'm so understanding,
why wouldn't you tell me?
Right. Mm-hmm. Because if your reason for not telling me is that I'm understanding, then you should be able to tell me that I'm not invited.
Yeah.
And I completely understand somebody wanting to save money, cut costs. I can only invite my family, whatever. So you're right. I would have understood. But not telling me and then calling me because you ran into somebody?
Yeah.
You could keep it.
Yeah. That's tough.
Let me know what y'all think about that, because that just really rubbed me the wrong way. I've like been to the hospital with this person, taking care of them.
Yeah.
All kinds of things.
Been through lots of life things together.
It was just like...
And weddings are places where somebody you ain't talked to in a minute, or you only text them happy birthday.
Or you just don't live close to each other. Like, this is where you're going to come
to. They're not a part of your day-to-day, but your connection at whatever point was so close that like I couldn't picture you not at my wedding. Like, there are people who were invited to my wedding from college, for example. We pretty much only say happy birthday, happy, Merry Christmas, blah, blah, blah. But because of our connection, you were invited to my wedding, whether you decided to come or not, up to you. But like, there are people from college who you probably never even heard of before. And it was like, look who's at my wedding. I feel so loved. I'm so happy you're here. Thanks for being happy for me. Because it's just like one of those life events that you make sure the key people from throughout your life are there.
Right.
Yeah. Those are hard. Speaking of wedding invitations, you just reminded me. So there was, I always talk about like not feeling like I really had a friend group, particularly in school and in high school. And I'm good friends with two women who have been friends since they were in elementary school. And they for sure have like a core group of 4 or 5 of them that went to elementary school and have stayed friends this whole time. So 3 of us went to high school together. And so that's where I met their childhood friends throughout high school, because we'd be at birthday parties and go to parties, whatever. So I've known half the group since I was 14. And so many of them were invited to my wedding because I was like, we've been in and around each other for forever. Like, all of them will go and do stuff, and I'll sometimes feel left out. Like, I can't even get no invite. It's cool, whatever. But I decided to get over like not getting invited to certain things a while ago, because also sometimes they go do stuff that I don't want to do. So I get it. But I invited one couple to my wedding and didn't hear from them till like the last minute that they weren't going to be able to come. And then their wedding was a few months later. Not that I was expecting to be invited to their wedding. I actually didn't think I would be. But it was more just like the distance and lack of communication that came once my wedding invite went out. It was kind of like, guess we're not really. I thought we were friends, but maybe we're not really friends, and that's okay, I guess. We've just spent the last 15 years in and around each other's space often, but I guess we're not friends.
I'm like, who is this? Who you talking about?
Girl, I ain't saying no names on the podcast. If I said the name, you wouldn't even know.
I don't know who they are.
No.
Then how close are you?
Well, that's what I said. Like, I thought we were cool enough that like I invited the group to my wedding, right? Because I also, yes, it does come down to cost, but I also wanted people to have fun at my wedding. So I tried to avoid having people who like absolutely didn't know anyone come to the wedding.
Right.
And when I was thinking about like table setup, like they would have had a whole table of people of their friend group pretty much at the wedding, which I thought would have been fun, because I also wanted people who were going to be fun to be at the wedding. And like I said, I wasn't shocked to not be invited to their wedding. It more just like solidified for me that we aren't really friends, and that's okay.
Right.
That's okay. It explains why when she plans things, I'm usually not invited. When my friends plan, like the people that I'm really friends with plan things, I'll get invited. But if she's planning things, I'm not included, and that's okay. It just used to bother me more than it does now. I used to feel like, girl, we all live in a 10-mile radius down the street. I guess,
but all those aren't good reasons, right?
I guess not.
I wouldn't say those are reasons that doesn't tell me you like her. That's all I'm saying, from what I'm hearing.
Oh no, I do like her. I was gonna say, I considered her a friend, and maybe I considered that I was a backstage through proximity, friend. Like a friend via proximity. There are things that we know about each other's lives based on how much time we've spent together over the years that I thought afforded me a certain level of friendship that I clearly did not have.
Right. And I think, yeah, and I will say, I think there's people who think about friendship differently, and like who and weddings differently in terms of who can come and like how close are we and blah blah blah. But anywho, I'm sorry that happened. that isn't a great feeling, but I guess goes back to whether a conversation would have been nice to have. But also, it's like if we're not on the same page about where we're at, I don't know if I owe you one.
Yeah, I feel like the wedding was just like the final stamp on the, like, I leave you out of stuff because we're not. I need. Yeah, like this is all the proof that I need that we're really not friends like I thought we were, and that's okay.
And I think helps with the guilt, I guess, on my end of like I felt guilty to not talk to this person anymore because they obviously thought that they did nothing wrong. So they say,
and I wouldn't agree,
right? And I wouldn't agree either. So I'm kind of just like I had to deal with that feeling of how mad should I be? And like, is mad the right feeling? I guess no, I wasn't just mad. I was just like, I was like, dang, this is sad.
Yeah, your feelings were hurt. And I think rightfully so.
And I think I was like, how do I release that? Well, knowing what kind of friends I want. And I knew that wasn't the type of friend that I want to have long term.
Yeah, because there can be people that you love, but you still might outgrow them or have to let them go for whatever reason.
Well, if they make you question your value, I think, because that's where I felt with this. It was just like, well, how important am I? I guess not much.
Yeah. And there are some people who are just like seasonal friends, and we have to be honest about that too. Like, I feel like a good number of my friends, people who I consider friends from college, were seasonal friends. I don't talk to a lot of people that I went to college with anymore. When I think about the depth of our relationships, much of it was like in parties and hanging out.
Right.
There are a few key people who I still stay in contact with, but like part of why we were friends is because we went to the same school. We did the same things. We were student athletes maybe, or on the same team even. And so we had a lot of things to bond and connect on that kept us close, but we weren't ultimately going to remain friends, not because there was like love lost or anything, but just because we weren't.
Yeah. And I think also like people who feed your spirit. So not just because of the things that you have in common, but like how do they actually make you feel when you're in their presence? Because I think I have a few friends that I have had my other friends be like, well, why are you still friends with them? like straight up have asked me like, why? And to me, I'm like, well, while they might not be people who necessarily are pushing me towards growth or like pushing me to do things quote unquote better in terms of capitalism or something, doesn't mean that like we don't have good times together,
right? And
enjoy each other's company, because that also is valuable. And I feel like that is so lost on people these days when it's like, I only want to be in circles where I can level up. And I only want to be in circles where like we're all making moves.
Well, I think that reminds me of our conversation from a couple episodes ago. We were just talking about like all the work that it takes to optimize your life all the time. And if everything is always about optimizing, like, can you breathe?
Right. And like, how much are you living in judgment?
Yes.
Because that's what it really feels like. Like, there's so much judgment. Like, who am I to say what their life should be? But that doesn't mean I have to cut them off.
Right.
Now, do I have different boundaries? Yeah. There's places that we might not go anymore. There's things we might not do because I have outgrown those spaces. But that doesn't mean that I have to outgrow those people.
Right. Yeah. I think a place that this shows up for me in adulthood is at work. Girl, because that's the only place I'd be at. But I have a few friends who are like genuinely friends from work. Like, we kick it outside of work. We talk outside of work. We talk about life outside of work. And then there are people that I've worked with who I feel like we became really cool, really close. And then we work at a different place now and
never spoke again.
Or we only talk about work and on occasion. Or like we're only hitting each other up when we asking about something work related, which is fine. But sometimes I feel guilty because I think I'm quicker to cut off work relationships. Like, I feel like I made my work friends when I was 23 when I started working there, and now I don't need no more work friends.
Right, I feel that.
And it can be dangerous to have friends at work, because at the end of the day, it's
what happens
business.
if y'all stop being friends?
Well, that happens too, child. That happens too. It has happened to me. And it ultimately worked out in my favor, but it was definitely some awkward times. You know, we all grown, so we show up professionally, but there are people who I got very close with at work, and then for one reason or another fell out, and it's just not fun.
It's not, but I don't know. I was taking on the motto, I don't go to work to make friends. I was definitely living that out.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's like,
it's boring.
Well, it's not that it's boring, because I'm cool with the people, but after we leave, I'll talk to you tomorrow. Like,
oh yeah,
I'm like, we're not about to kick it and not really text either. But I've been going back and forth with that feeling this year, because I'm like, if work is one of the main places that I go, and like new places, then I'm not gonna make any new friends. And so like all your friends are gonna be from college and behind, and you know, not behind, but the past. And so I'm like, I might have to reevaluate that feeling or that decision, because I'm like, people, I don't know, in the olden days, not the olden days, but our parents or whatever, they made friends at work, and it was fine. So like, where
you can't be friends with everybody, but
right.
you can have a couple.
Right. I'm trying to understand where this mentality came from, because I know I'm not the only person who said
no,
it.
Definitely not. I feel like I think it's always been like a true line to be professional at work and be mindful of who you tell things. And I think that's true in general, just because like people gossip. Everybody doesn't have your best interests at heart. But I think the internet, social media is a part of this, right? Because it's a lot of like, don't let people be on your social media from work. You don't want them seeing you called out because you was sick, but you was really at the pool, right? Like, I think it was more like for us millennials who are a little looser with our friendships and information than maybe previous generations are or were.
Right.
And it was more like a watch your back because everybody not your friend kind of mentality. But I would say I have a handful of people who I would consider like actual real life friends who I know from work.
See, no. See,
but no,
but I'm not opposed to it, because I'm like, these people do seem cool. We could be cool, and we always will end a meeting or something if we have like a team like outing. Like, we should get drinks or we should do that.
And y'all just talking.
We just be talking, and I'll be the main one. We should do.
No, you ain't going. Set nothing up.
Not a thing. But I'm gonna change that this year.
I mean, you don't need to force any connections. It's okay to have people who are just your work friends and they only your work friends from 9 to 5.
No, for sure.
That's okay.
For sure. But I think it's a collective group of people who just won't get out of their comfort zone, but would probably be cool and could be cool outside of work. That's all. Well, but anyway, we got off on a little bit of a tangent because we were supposed to be talking about where people fall, and I guess my work friends are out the door. They're out the door. But I'm gonna see if maybe we could bring a few to the balcony. But anyway,
so we've been talking a lot about work friends, and sometimes you can feel a little guilty, like keeping people at arm's length, you know, or even letting go of people when you transfer maybe from one department to another or from one company to another, and being like, okay, it was nice knowing you, see you never, wish you best of luck. But I think there are ways that we can maybe approach these uncomfortable conversations, and it's not necessarily easy, whether it's like an old friend or a work friend or whoever. But I think once you've determined the level that you, or the stage,
like where do I want them to be in my life, or where do I feel like they are?
Yeah, once you've determined where you think they should be in your life, then it could be worthwhile to have that conversation depending on where you place them. If it's somebody out the door, you let that fade. You know, it's okay. I see you, you see me. Best of luck to you. Wish you no ill will. But for anybody who is backstage or in the balcony, or even your front center friends, because I feel like the front center friends be where the fallout happens.
Right.
It can be worth the conversation if you would like to like either remain cordial or salvage the relationship or bring it deeper.
Yeah, it's important, I think, for you to have those conversations. And I'm like, how do you start them? I guess with first saying, like, what are you feeling?
And being okay to share what you're feeling as well. Like, don't avoid the elephant in the room. Like, hey girl, we ain't talked in a minute. I know it seems like we've been a little more distant, or even the last time we talked, I might not have been as excited as normal. It's because I've still been thinking about this wedding. I've still been thinking about this wedding, girl.
Mm-hmm.
And here's how I felt about it. I appreciate you sharing with me XYZ.
Right. I'm like, I guess I could tell you what I said in that phone call. It wasn't anything crazy, but it was like, she was trying to tell me about the friend she ran into. And I said, hold on, I think I'm going to have to stop you. Because honestly, I'm kind of mad. I said, I'm mad because blank to blank. And yeah, so I think you can start any question any conversation like that. Obviously, that was a little bit very straightforward. So maybe
as we West tend to be,
that might be a little too much for you. But I just think going with honesty is very important.
Mm-hmm.
And directness. Like, I'm not beating around the bush. I'm not about to pretend that I'm not bothered and just laugh. Like, ha, 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 ha. Talk to you next time. That was such a great story.
Definitely not.
Because I can't let that tension sit.
Right. Especially if you would like to repair the relationship. Mm-hmm. If it's a friendship you think you're going to release, like for me, learning that I wasn't as good of a friend as I thought I was, and now I can just release it. So I don't got to worry about inviting you nowhere, no time in the future. Cool. We don't have to have a conversation about it.
But also if you're not sure whether you want to release, because that's where I was at when the phone call happened. I was still teetering on, should I reach out and say something? Should I leave it alone?
But it was still in your spirit.
It was still, yeah. So she reached out to me, and I could have been like, you know what? I'm not answering this. I've already decided I'm done with this.
That's true.
But instead I was like, let me see what her answer is. Let me see why this happened. And the answer didn't answer for me. So I knew releasing was the best option for myself. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes that's what a conversation can do. Because honestly, if the answer was something that I was like, okay, there was only 50 people there. She's there because blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm. She there because she paid for
or whatever.
Yeah, I know.
Something that felt like, okay.
I was going to say, what would be a valid answer for you? But maybe was there one? Is that
an
impossible task?
If I add more context,
you'll be telling too much business.
Yeah.
Got you. Mm-hmm. No worries.
Yeah, because obviously the person would know that this is about them already. So I think adding more context would do too much.
Got you.
So anyway.
The conversation was informative and you felt like you had the opportunity, so you took it. Mm-hmm. Did you like, the call was unexpected, so you hadn't prepared to have that conversation?
Not at all.
Right off the cuff?
Yeah.
Because I was going to say something that could be helpful, especially if you're nervous about it or you're unsure about which direction you want to go, repair or release, could be to just literally, this sounds very type A, but jot down a couple notes. Like, what was the challenge? What is it that you're feeling about the challenge? And maybe even what you hope to gain or learn from talking to the person about it.
Like, what would be your ideal outcome?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then see where they feel after that. Mm-hmm. Because sometimes it can be nerve-wracking to put yourself out there and have those conversations, especially if you're not sure where you fall on the other person's friendship list, right? Especially if you thought you were front stage and this situation is now making you feel backstage or out the door,
right?
You know, it can feel uncomfortable because you already have a little bit of sadness or feelings around it. So being prepared to have the conversation could always help, and being prepared to give the other person time to get back to you, right? Because they might not be able to give you a response, especially if they felt like nothing's wrong and this is coming out of left field,
right? Right, because we do be making problems in our head, and really, she's over there just busy.
Right.
It's not that she ain't thinking about you, but she ain't thinking about you. So
right. That's like one of my friends in my like gymnastics girls circle. She'd be so slow to text. We will be going in a group text, all chatting things. She might reply 4 days later, and I'm like, "Girl, do you love us or not?" But I know she's just busy.
Right.
She got kids. She has one on the way. She's busy.
Things to do.
So I'm like, if I really want to talk to her, I could call her. Right. It doesn't have to
if it was important.
Right. If it was important. When we just be talking kikiing in the group text. It's not even like nothing.
I'll come and go as I please.
Yes. Which she does. And I'll be like, girl, where are you? We need to hear from you. And so that's why we do our little FaceTimes and things to try to make sure we at least keep up somewhat. But it's hard when it feels like every conversation is like a catch up.
Right.
Because like, then I want to be more on your day to day. Yeah. Yeah.
Because if the only thing we do is catch up and I'm not actually living out any of this with you, what are we doing?
Yeah. No, and I would say we're still friends. Like she's still my inner circle. But sometimes I wish sometimes for more connection And so I view that then as my responsibility to at least put out the olive branch to do that, if that's what I say I want.
Right. And I think that's another thing too, is just knowing what you want and knowing that you can get it yourself, and like they don't have to initiate it for you to receive it.
Right, exactly. And sometimes you initiating it could let you know where you land.
Right, because if you don't hear back, then you know. Just kidding, because you might hear back in 4 days. So anyway, that's just our ideas on like how you can audit your friendships, but also we're just kind of kikiing here today.
That's why it was gospel and gossip. You learned a little bit.
But let us know, how have you been starting? I guess we're going to our sister circle question, but how have you been auditing your relationships? Do you know who you consider to be your, what did you say? Your front stage people. Those are the ones everybody know they're your friend, and everybody see them. We know what it is. Your backstage friends, right? You said you've had for maybe a long time. They fly under the radar, but they know all the tea because they backstage. The balcony
is supportive but distant.
And then
out the door.
Right? So the faded friends. So I guess assess those. Are people in the right position? Do they need to move? Do you need to have some conversations? Or should we just let stuff fade naturally? Because that's also okay.
I'm team fade, but you know,
for the most part, I'm actually, well, no.
You're not.
No,
I am.
I'm not. I'm good to have a conversation. It could be a year. Hey,
there'd be some people I think about, and I might send you I'm gonna think about you text.
Right. You know? And
but we faded, girl.
But then if we get together, I'm like, why ain't I talk to you in a year? But hey,
because it's a two-way street, child.
It is a two-way street, but I feel maybe it's for me, it's my own internal awkwardness of like, if I haven't seen you for a whole year or two, I need to know why. My own insecurity.
I see.
Because if we were all together all the time, I get life gets busy. Just tell me that. What's up? Where you been? I need to know.
But see, I think I'm good with having friends in each category. Whereas I think you maybe want more balcony and front. What is it, Lord?
I don't think so. I think I'm okay with having people in every category.
Yeah.
I just want to know why you're there in each category.
Oh, you want them to tell you why they're there? Why they not trying to be front row?
Oh, no.
It's like, don't you know for some of them?
I mean, yes. I'm talking about if you've moved positions.
Oh, like if you have been moved?
I guess so.
Like if somebody else has moved you?
Or even myself. If I haven't talked to somebody for a long time, I also say why.
Oh, you share that.
We have conversation. Where you been?
And see, I'm good with I haven't seen you in a year, and it feels like I saw you yesterday, and I'll see you again in a year.
Both are true. Like when I think about my friends from high school, we all collectively know we are not going to see each other all the time. And that's fine.
Same.
We live far apart from each other for the most part.
We don't.
Oh, well, we live far apart from each other. But if it has been a while, we will name like, where you been?
Sure.
Because like, you're supposed to be my backstage, know everything. And I haven't seen you in 6 months or a year or 2.
So maybe it's helpful for these categories to think about how many touch points you need with people in these categories. Because it seems like it may vary from person to person.
Yes. And maybe I'm talking like a big game and I don't actually do this. No, I think I do. It's not as dramatic as I'm making it sound. That's all. But anyway, assess your friendships. Where are they? And decide whether some conversations need to be had.
In the meantime, don't forget to subscribe so you can get next week's gospel or gossip.
Right.
We appreciate you watching, and we'll catch you in the next episode.
Bye.